If you're always available, you'll never be valued. Stop being too reachable, because the more available you make yourself, the less people respect your time, your energy, and your presence. And most people don't realize this. They think being always there, always replying instantly, and always saying yes will make them liked and appreciated. But in reality, it often does the opposite. It makes you predictable, easy to access, and easy to ignore, because when something is always available, it loses its value. And this applies to your time, your attention, and your energy. And when you are constantly responding, constantly showing up for everyone, and constantly prioritizing others over yourself, you slowly lose control of your own life. Because your time is no longer yours. It is controlled by other people's demands. And this creates frustration, stress, and lack of focus, because you are always reacting instead of acting with intention. But when you decide to stop being too reachable, everything begins to change, because you start setting boundaries. You start choosing when to respond, when to engage, and when to step back. And this gives you control, because your time and energy are no longer scattered. They are directed toward what truly matters. And at the same time, this shift also increases your value, because people begin to respect what is not easily available. They understand that your time is limited, and this creates importance, because you are no longer someone who is always there. You're someone who chooses when to be there, and this choice makes your presence more meaningful, and over time, this habit builds self-respect, because you're no longer neglecting yourself to please others. You are prioritizing your growth, your goals, and your peace, and this is what truly helps you level up, because you're no longer controlled by external demands. You are in control of your own life, and that is where real power begins. Fire as you begin to step back from being constantly available. You start to realize how much of your energy was being wasted on things that did not truly matter. Because when you're always reachable, people begin to expect instant access to you. They interrupt your focus. They pull you into unnecessary conversations. And they treat your time as something that is always open. And this slowly drains your mental strength, because you're never fully focused. You're always reacting, always switching attention, and this weakens your productivity. But when you start creating distance, when you stop replying instantly, when you stop saying yes to everything, you begin to reclaim your time, and this creates space for deep work, for personal growth, and for clarity. And at the same time, this distance also changes how people see you, because when you're not always available, your presence becomes more valuable. People start respecting your time, because they know it is limited, and this shift is powerful, because you're no longer being taken for granted, you are being valued. And as you continue this practice, you also begin to feel more in control of your life, because you're not constantly reacting to others, you are acting based on your priorities. And this improves your focus, because your attention is not scattered, it is directed, and over time, this habit strengthens your discipline, because you're choosing what deserves your time and what is not. And this is what truly helps you grow, because success requires focus, and focus requires boundaries, and boundaries require the courage to not always be available. As your mindset becomes stronger, you begin to understand that being less reachable is not about ignoring people. It is about respecting yourself. Because every time you say yes to something that does not align with your goals, you're saying no to your own growth. And most people do not realize this. They try to please everyone. They try to be available for everything. And in doing so, they lose themselves. But when you build a habit of protecting your time, you start making better decisions. You choose what truly matters, and you let go of what is not. And this creates clarity, because your life is no longer filled with unnecessary distractions. It is focused on meaningful actions. At the same time, this approach also improves your mental peace, because you are not constantly overwhelmed by demands. You are calm, in control, and focused. And this calmness allows you to think clearly and act wisely. And over time, this becomes your strength, because you're not easily influenced by external pressure. You have your own standards, your own priorities, and your own direction. And this independence makes you powerful because you're not living your life based on others' expectations. You're living it based on your purpose, and eventually you realize that the key to growth is not doing more, but doing what matters. And this requires saying no, setting boundaries, and not being too reachable. Because when you protect your time, you protect your future. Fire as you continue to distance yourself from constant availability. You begin to develop a powerful sense of self-respect because you are no longer allowing others to control your time, your attention, or your energy. And this shift changes everything because when you respect your own time, others are forced to respect it too. And most people struggle with this because they fear disappointing others. They fear being seen as rude, or they feel guilty for not being available. But the truth is, constantly sacrificing yourself for others does not make you respected. It makes you overlooked. And when you begin to set boundaries, even if it feels uncomfortable at first, you're sending a clear message that your time matters. And this creates a new dynamic because people begin to understand that they cannot access you whenever they want. They have to value your presence. And at the same time, this also strengthens your mindset because you're no longer acting out of fear or approval. You're acting out of self-respect. And this builds confidence because you trust your decisions and you are not easily influenced by pressure. And over time, this habit becomes part of your identity because you see yourself as someone who values their time, someone who is focused, disciplined, and in control. And this identity shapes your actions naturally because you act according to who you believe you are. And this is how you create a powerful life, by respecting your own time first. As your discipline grows, you begin to realize that not being too reachable also increases your focus and productivity. Because when you are constantly interrupted, your mind cannot go deep into important work. You are always switching tasks, always reacting, and this reduces the quality of your output. But when you limit your availability, when you create blocks of uninterrupted time, you allow your mind to enter a state of deep focus. And this is where real progress happens, because you're able to concentrate fully, think clearly, and work efficiently. And this focused effort produces better results in less time. And at the same time, this approach also reduces stress, because you are not overwhelmed by constant notifications, messages, or demands. Your mind is calm, structured, and in control. And this calmness improves your decision-making because you're thinking clearly instead of reacting impulsively. And over time, this creates a powerful routine because you are prioritizing your most important tasks. You are working with intention, and you are avoiding unnecessary distractions. And this is what separates successful people: the ability to protect their time, to focus deeply, and to execute consistently. And as this continues, you begin to see significant growth because your efforts are aligned with your goals, and this alignment creates results. And this is what truly helps you level up, because you're not just working hard, you are working smart with focus, discipline, and control at the highest level. You begin to understand that stopping yourself from being too reachable is about taking full control of your life. Because when you decide who gets your time, when they get it, and how much they get, you're no longer living reactively. You're living intentionally. And this intention gives you power because you're not being pulled in different directions. You're moving forward with clarity and purpose. And at the same time, this mindset also gives you freedom because you're not constantly tied to other people's expectations. You're creating your own schedule, your own priorities, and your own path. And this allows you to focus on what truly matters: your growth, your goals, and your peace. And over time, this creates a life that is aligned with your vision because you're not wasting time on things that do not contribute to your progress. And this is what truly separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck: the ability to protect their time, to set boundaries, and stay focused. And eventually, you realize that your time is your most valuable asset, and how you use it determines your future. So stop giving away freely. Start protecting it. Start valuing it, and start using it to build the life you want. Because when you control your time, you control your life, and that is the ultimate power. Fire as you continue building the habit of not being too reachable. You begin to notice a powerful shift in your mindset, because you're no longer living in reaction mode, You're living with intention, and this intention changes how you approach everything in life. Because instead of saying yes automatically, you pause, you think, and you decide whether something truly deserves your time. And this small change creates a big impact because it forces you to become selective. And being selective is powerful because it means you are choosing quality over quantity. You're focusing on what truly matters instead of trying to do everything. And most people struggle because they try to be everywhere. They try to please everyone. And in doing so, they lose focus. But when you stop being too reachable, you protect your focus because your time is not scattered. It is directed. And this direction allows you to make real progress. And at the same time, the selectiveness also improves your relationships. Because when you do choose to spend time with someone, it is intentional, it is meaningful, and it is not forced. And this creates stronger connections because your presence is genuine, not just habitual. And over time, this habit builds a powerful identity because you see yourself as someone who values their time, someone who is disciplined, and someone who does not get distracted easily. And this identity shapes your actions naturally because you act according to who you believe you are. And this is what truly helps you grow, because your life is no longer filled with unnecessary noise. It is focused, clear, and aligned with your goals. As your awareness grows, you begin to understand that not being too reachable also protects your mental health, because constant availability creates constant pressure. You feel the need to respond quickly, to be present for everyone, and to handle multiple things at once. And this overload can lead to stress, anxiety, and burnout. But when you set boundaries, when you decide that you will not always be available, you give your mind the space it needs to rest, to think, and to recover. And this recovery is important because it keeps your mind sharp, focused, and balanced. At the same time, this approach also reduces overthinking because you're not constantly engaged in conversations or situations that do not matter. Your mind is calmer because it is not overloaded with unnecessary information. And this calmness allows you to think clearly, to make better decisions, and to stay focused on your priorities. And over time, this creates a strong mental state because you're not easily overwhelmed, you are in control. And this control allows you to handle challenges more effectively because your mind is stable, not chaotic. And as this continues, you begin to feel more at peace because your life is not filled with constant interruptions. It is structured, intentional, and balanced. And this is what truly helps you maintain long-term growth, because a strong mind is built on stability, not chaos. At the highest level, you realize that stopping yourself from being too reachable is not just a habit, it is a lifestyle, because it reflects how much you value yourself, your time, and your future. And when you truly understand this, you stop giving your time away carelessly, you stop responding to everything instantly, and you stop allowing others to control your schedule. And this shift gives you complete control over your life because you are deciding what deserves your attention and what does not. And this decision shapes your future because your time is being invested in things that actually matter. And at the same time, this mindset also creates respect because people recognize that your time is not easily accessible. And this makes your presence more valuable because it is rare. And over time, this creates a powerful life because you're focused, disciplined, and in control. And this control allows you to move forward with clarity because you are not distracted by unnecessary things. You are aligned with your goals. And this alignment creates success because your actions are consistent and intentional. And eventually, you understand that your time is your greatest asset, and protecting it is not selfish. It is necessary because the life you want to build depends on how you use it. And that is the ultimate truth. If you control your time, you control your life. And if you control your life, nothing can stop you from becoming the person you want to be. Fire as you continue to strengthen this mindset. You begin to understand that not being too reachable gives you control over your priorities. Because when you're always available, your priorities become unclear. You're constantly shifting your attention based on other people's demands. And this makes it difficult to focus on what truly matters. But when you start limiting your availability, you create a clear structure in your life because you decide what deserves your time first. And this decision is powerful because it aligns your actions with your goals. And at the same time, This clarity also reduces confusion because you're not trying to do everything at once. You're focused on the most important tasks. And this focus leads to better results because your energy is concentrated, not scattered. And over time, this habit builds a strong sense of direction because you are not reacting to life, you are leading it. And this leadership gives you confidence because you know what you are doing and why you are doing it. And as this continues, you begin to see progress because your efforts are consistent and aligned, and this progress reinforces your discipline, making it easier to continue. And this is what truly helps you grow, because success is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters, and that requires you to protect your time and not be too reachable. As your mindset evolves further, you begin to realize that being less reachable also builds mystery and respect, because people are naturally drawn to what is not easily accessible. And when you're always available, always responding instantly, and always present, your presence becomes ordinary. But when you create distance, when you're selective about when and how you engage, your presence becomes valuable because it is not constant, it is intentional. And this creates a sense of importance because people recognize that your time is limited, and this limitation increases your value. And at the same time, this also changes how people treat you because they are more respectful of your time. They think before interrupting you, and they value the moments you are available. And over time, this builds a strong reputation because you're seen as someone who is focused, disciplined, and not easily distracted. And this perception works in your favor because it creates opportunities, respect, and influence. And as this continues, you begin to understand that you do not need to chase attention or approval. Your actions and your presence speak for themselves. And this is what truly gives you power, because you're not trying to be everywhere, you're choosing where to be. And this choice makes all the difference at the highest level. You begin to see that not being too reachable is a form of self-mastery, because it requires discipline to say no, to delay responses, and to prioritize your own growth over constant interaction. And this discipline separates you from the majority, because most people lack the control to protect their time. They give in to distractions, they respond to everything, and they allow others to dictate their schedule. But when you develop this level of control, you take back your power, because you're no longer living reactively, you're living intentionally. And this intention shapes your life, because your time is being used for growth, for progress, and for building something meaningful. And at the same time, this mindset also brings peace, because your life is not chaotic. It is structured, focused, and balanced. And this balance allows you to perform at your best, because your mind is clear, your energy is protected, and your actions are aligned with your goals. And over time, this creates a powerful transformation, because you're not just improving your habits, you're becoming someone who is in control of their time, their focus, and their life. And this is the ultimate level, because once you control your time, you control everything, and that is what truly allows you to win in life. Fire as you move into the highest level of this mindset. You begin to understand that protecting your time is directly connected to protecting your future, because every moment you give away carelessly is a moment taken away from your growth, your goals, and your potential. And most people do not realize how much time they lose by being constantly available, by replying instantly, by engaging in things that do not matter. And this slow loss of time adds up, creating a life where progress is limited. But when you decide to take control, when you become intentional about where your time goes, everything starts to change, because you're no longer living randomly. You're living with purpose, and this purpose guides your actions because you're focused on what truly matters. And at the same time, this awareness also makes you more disciplined, because you start questioning every action, every conversation, and every commitment, asking yourself whether it aligns with your goals. And this level of awareness is powerful because it filters out distractions, it removes unnecessary noise, and it keeps you focused. And over time, this creates a strong foundation for success because your time is being invested wisely. As your control becomes stronger, you begin to realize that not being too reachable also builds inner peace, because your mind is no longer constantly interrupted. You are not being pulled into every situation, every conversation, and every demand, and this creates a calm mental state. because your life is not chaotic. It is structured and intentional. And this calmness allows you to think clearly, to act wisely, and to stay focused on your priorities. And most people struggle with peace because they're always engaged, always connected, and always reacting. But when you create boundaries, when you decide to step back, you give your mind the space it needs to rest and reset. And this reset improves your mental clarity because you're not overwhelmed, you are balanced. And this balance allows you to perform better because your thoughts are organized, your focus is strong, and your actions are aligned. And at the same time, this peace also improves your emotional stability because you are not constantly reacting to external triggers. You are in control of your responses. And this control gives you confidence because you trust yourself to handle situations calmly. And over time, this becomes your strength because you're not easily disturbed, you remain steady. And this steadiness allows you to move forward consistently. And this is what truly helps you succeed, because a calm and focused mind is a powerful mind at the absolute highest level. You begin to understand that stopping yourself from being too reachable is not just about time management. It is about life management, because how you use your time determines the direction of your life. And when you control your availability, you control your direction, because you are deciding what influences you, what distracts you, and what moves you forward. And this control is the foundation of success because it allows you to stay focused on your purpose, regardless of what is happening around you. And at the same time, this mindset also creates a strong identity because you see yourself as someone who is disciplined, someone who is focused, and someone who values their time. And this identity shapes your actions naturally because you act according to your standards, not your impulses. And over time, this creates a powerful life because your habits are aligned with your goals, your actions are consistent, and your progress is steady. And eventually, you realize that your time is your most valuable asset. And protecting it is not optional, it is necessary because everything you want to achieve depends on how you use it. And this realization changes everything because you stop giving your time away freely. You start investing it wisely, and you begin to build a life that is focused, intentional, and successful. And this is the ultimate power, because when you control your time, you control your life. And when you control your life, nothing can stop you from becoming the best version of yourself. Fire as you continue living with this mindset, you begin to notice that your life becomes more structured and intentional, because you're no longer reacting randomly to every message, every call, or every request. Instead, you're creating a system where your time is planned, your energy is protected, and your focus is directed. And this structure is powerful because it removes chaos from your life. And most people struggle because their day is unorganized. They jump from one thing to another, constantly reacting, and this makes them feel busy but not productive. But when you stop being too reachable, you eliminate this randomness. You create clear boundaries, and you decide when to work, when to respond, and when to rest. And this clarity improves your efficiency because you're not wasting time switching tasks. You're focused on one thing at a time. And this deep focus produces better results. And at the same time, this structure also builds discipline because you're following a system, not your mood. And this consistency is what creates progress because your actions are repeated daily, and over time, these repeated actions create momentum, and this momentum makes everything easier because you're no longer forcing yourself. You're following a pattern, and this pattern leads to growth because you're consistently moving forward. And this is what truly helps you level up because success is not random. It is built through structured and intentional effort. As your awareness reaches a deeper level, you begin to understand that not being too reachable also helps you eliminate unnecessary people and distractions from your life. Because when you are always available, you attract people who do not value your time, people who interrupt your focus, and people who bring no real value. But when you create boundaries, when you become selective, these people naturally fade away because they no longer have easy access to you. And this is powerful because it cleans your environment. It removes distractions, and it allows you to surround yourself with what truly matters. And at the same time, the selectiveness also helps you build stronger connections because the people who remain are those who respect your time, your boundaries, and your purpose. And this creates quality relationships instead of quantity, and over time, this improves your mindset because you are not influenced by negativity or unnecessary noise. You're surrounded by clarity and purpose, and this environment supports your growth because it aligns with your goals. And as this continues, you begin to feel more in control because your life is not crowded with distractions. It is focused and intentional. And this is what truly helps you move forward because your energy is being used in the right direction, not wasted on things that do not matter. At the ultimate level, you realize that not being too reachable is a form of personal power because it means you are no longer living under control of others' expectations, demands, or interruptions. You are living on your own terms. And this freedom is powerful because it allows you to focus entirely on your growth, your purpose, and your vision. And most people never reach this level because they are constantly available, constantly distracted, and constantly reacting. But when you break this pattern, when you take control of your time and your attention, everything changes because your life becomes aligned, your actions become intentional, and your progress becomes consistent. And at the same time,